Welcome back, everyone. This is Dave from the Corn Productions Deep Dive TV podcast with my co-host Stacie here to talk about the Under the Dome Season 1, Episode 10, titled Let the Games Begin. The episode's description reads as follows. Maxine continues to manipulate Barbie and Big Jim. Linda and Julia investigate Duke's involvement with previous criminal activity in Chester's Mill. Meanwhile, Angie realizes Junior is the fourth hand. The episode was written by Peter Galloway and Andrew Pitcher Santoro, based on a book by Stephen King. The episode was directed by Sergei Mimika Gazan. Basically, I looked at his credits, and he has lots of directorial credits. A lot of assistant directorial work, working with Steven Spielberg in a lot of his films.
Oh, okay.
Before we go any further, I'll tell you a couple things. One, this is a spoiler-free podcast, so if you haven't watched the episode, I recommend you go check it out, and then come back and give us a listen. Secondly, if you're listening on one of the platforms of this podcast is not available on, please follow and feel free to check out my YouTube channel, Corn Productions, where additional content can be discovered. If you're already on our YouTube channel, please like, share, and comment, and subscribe to our channel. All right, so Stacie, your thoughts on this week's episode?
Okay, so this is the one that I was confusing a lot with last week.
Right.
We get a lot of the fighting pits here, all
Yes.
that kind of stuff that I'm just like, about. This is where we get the Angie Jr. stuff.
It's even worse than the next episode, but yes.
You say that every week, too.
I know, but next week is actually the one that I have the most objection to.
Okay.
But
we get to see more of Jack Bender's art in this
Yes.
episode,
Yep.
so that was nice. I think we even got more views of like all the stuff, on the surrounding walls and stuff. They kind of lingered there a little longer this episode than they did last time. So that's always fun to see his artwork. And it's just kind of there for me, this one. I don't have really strong opinions about it either way.
yeah, I'm basically with you.
Oh, we do, of course, we meet Agatha this week. We have her 2 episodes, this one and next. Love that actress. Mary Winningham.
Yes, yeah.
Love her.
She was in Quantum Leap at one point, right?
Not that I noticed. She was in The Affair, which I'm currently doing a rewatch of.
Yeah.
And a bunch of other stuff.
Okay.
So we can talk about her more when we meet her. But
so I don't really care about the Fight Club stuff.
yeah.
That stuff doesn't interest me. Yeah, there was a movie called Fight Club, which did the shit better. I don't really care. I mean, the Angie and Junior stuff is not terrible in this episode. And yeah, I mean, basically, Maxine as a character just doesn't interest me.
Right.
Like, we mentioned how we love Natalie Z. I've seen her in plenty of places. Love her in her roles. Here, she's just she's too one-note villain for my taste. And yeah, the part of this episode that I did enjoy was the Linda and Julia investigating stuff.
Yeah, that was nice to see them working together. They're a good team.
Unfortunately, and Linda does all this great police work in these 2 episodes, uncovers the conspiracy. After this episode, she just straight pisses me off for the rest of the season, and basically for the rest of her tenure on the show, because she doesn't go.
Same.
Yes, basically
Big
same
spoilers.
thing. Yeah, so I mean, like, she does all this great police work, and then just kind of like knuckles under to Jim, and basically gives in to him, and it really pisses me off.
Yeah, so this is the episode where they learn that Jim's involved. They didn't know that before.
Right.
They, maybe didn't love him, but they didn't realize that he's
Right.
doing anything so shady. Yeah.
Right. Yep. So, yeah, I'm very lukewarm on this episode. The next episode, I think I'm going to hate on quite a bit. This episode, I'm just like, meh. But yeah, so do you anything else to say before diving in?
Let's look at the cast stuff. We have Dodie in this episode. Return of Nurse Adams. We're going to see her in the next 2 episodes as well. This is the final listing for Jeff Fahey as Duke. It's uncredited listing, and I was right last week. It is the same footage that was in the prior episode.
Yeah, there's nothing new there.
But there was no listing in that episode. So that's one of those examples of, the uncredited listings being very unreliable.
Right.
But someone at some point said that's him in that footage.
Yep, I guess so.
No Phil this week, no Ben, no Carolyn again. She's still missing.
Yes.
I wonder if there was something going on with the actress that she missed that many episodes in a row.
I'm not sure.
I mean, I get the storyline that she's grieving or whatever, but to have 0 appearances in like 3 episodes in a row.
I mean, Alicia Hines I think it was she had quite a bit of work going on at the time, so maybe she was just busy with other projects.
Maybe
to appear in the series.
And no Andrea, we're not going to see her again till the season finale. And that's about that on cast notes.
All right.
We do have some one-offs today that we can talk about when we meet them.
All right. So diving in.
Dive in.
All right. We begin the episode with a caterpillar crawling on the mini dome. Angie, Joe, and Nori are sleeping inside the barn. Joe wakes up excited because the caterpillar is going to turn into a monarch butterfly. And they're still trying to figure out who the fourth hand is. And they speculate it has to be someone with seizures.
Fair assumption, I guess.
Yeah.
Although the way they go about it, it's like he had a seizure like years ago. That's silly.
Right.
Anyways.
So they leave to go do something. Meanwhile, Dodie is sneaking into the barn when the kids have taken off. Julia comes downstairs to find a note from Barbie. Probably something like, be back later. I didn't quite read the note.
Yeah, it was a really quick little shot.
Yeah. Barbie is going to Jim's to discuss the Maxine situation. They suggest finding the insurance policy that she has over them, and Jim suggests real estate might be the answer. They go to the clerk's office to figure out which ones belong to her. They find a place that might be the one, but they are interrupted by Maxine herself, and Jim is sent on a shopping trip to find these exotic goods.
Like chocolate and conditioner.
Right. Do we know for a fact that these things are actually in the dome and haven't already been raided?
I mean, somewhere. Someone must have them tucked away.
Maybe.
I bet you that, he'd be better at raiding houses than Joe and Nori were when they were looking for insulin.
They gave up on that pretty quick. And she has other plans for Barbie, but of course she will not tell us what they are just yet. Dodie takes a pic of the mini dome, but when she touches it, it sends her flying back. The kids discover Dodie unconscious with burns on her hands, and then we have our credits. The kids bring Dodie to the clinic after the credits. Dodie has no memory of what actually happened to her. Angie asks the nurse if anyone else has had seizures recently, and the nurse says, not since your 10th grade dance, Angie. Okay, I'm pretty positive.
So that was at least 3 years ago.
Right. So, first of all, who the hell talks like this? I'm pretty sure we made fun of this line when we did the initial podcast in this episode. It's a horribly written, horribly delivered line. You're telling me that nobody in 3 years has had seizures?
Small town.
I guess. That's the exact same argument I made. But it's still a ridiculous line.
It feels so irrelevant, though, that he had a seizure in 10th grade.
Right.
Why? Why is that the thing?
Right.
Everyone else had seizures since the dome fell.
Right. Well, not to mention, there's no reason for her to say it like this.
There's no reason for her to say it at all. It was years ago.
Right. But the only reason that we're delivering the line like that is so that we're, keeping us in suspense.
About who it was.
For a little bit longer.
Yeah,
but
because Angie knows what she means, but nobody else does.
Nobody in real life would talk like this.
Yeah.
Your
10th grade dance, remember?
Right. It's a ridiculous line.
Would she even remember that it was Angie's 10th grade dance?
Right. Yeah. So I guess this nurse, really knows Angie very well.
Well, she was working there, so
okay.
I guess maybe...
Fair enough.
They know each other, but yeah, it's silly. But that was our appearance from Crystal Martinez as Nurse Adams in this episode.
So Julia finds Linda looking at files on the floor at the police station. Linda asks about her conversation with Andrea, and Linda correctly thinks Coggins burned out Duke's house to hide evidence. Well,
yeah, she's starting to put it all together.
Yep. That's not exactly what Duke was. Not exactly what Coggins was doing. He didn't mean to burn the entire place down, but that's pretty much.
But
what
he was trying to hide evidence, and he was just kind of very hapless.
Right. And then they look at. Then they end up looking at Duke's old hat and realizes there's a key to something in there. Julia realizes it's a safety deposit box key, and they decide to go there and look at that. Jim makes his way across the lake to investigate the property.
He's going to Bird Island, which is where Maxine owns a house, so they're going to check out that house.
Junior sees someone acting suspicious in his squad car, chases him down, only to realize it's Salt, and realizes it's to get into the cement factory. I'm not totally sure what the point of this little side plot with Junior is exactly, since it doesn't go anywhere.
I think it was just to introduce us to the cement factory.
Right.
And also to show us Junior's not in on the underground.
Gotcha.
He's learning at the same time we are. And this is Hoodie Guy. He's played by Barry Newkirk. He was in one episode of A Haunting, and he was in the 2024 film The Seed of Truth.
All right, so Maxine warns Barbie that he can't trust Jim and claims that she herself has never lied to him. She brings him into the cement factory where there's all sorts of things going on, including a fight club.
Yeah, there's bustling activity, there's a bar. Barbie suggests she's dealing in booze, cards, and brothels, but she makes it very clear she does not deal in prostitution.
Yes,
but he was pretty accurate about the other two.
Right. She gets very offended at the suggestion that she might be doing prostitution as well. And Jim gets across the lake to a really big house. As he investigates, he talks to an older woman, Agatha, who recognizes him from the car commercials, though later on we'll learn that's not exactly the truth.
Yeah, she definitely knows who he is.
She claims not to know Maxine, that someone else owns this property, and Jim BS's his reasons for being there. He wants to wait for the owner to get there.
Yeah, and she claims the owner is somebody named Oliver Luckland. I don't think that name ever becomes anything again.
No, because it's nonsense.
And he's like, oh, I'm just making my way around as a congressman to check on all the citizens and see if anyone needs anything.
Well, councilman,
all the way out here on all the way out here on Bird Island.
Right.
Is this the same island where like all the season
3 takes place
stuff happens?
I'm not sure, but it would make sense, I suppose.
So yeah, this is, and spoiler alert, that Agatha's not who she says she is when you look at her credits, because this is Agatha Seagrave.
Ah, yes.
Who's in episodes 10 and 11. That's another spoiler for something that happens later.
Right.
She is, again, played by Mare Winningham. She was in all 10 episodes of The Outsider, 14 episodes of The Affair, 14 episodes of American Horror Story. She was actually in several seasons of that.
She was in The Outsider. I think that might have been one of the main character's wives, if I remember correctly. I didn't make the connection until just now. I knew I saw her in something.
Yeah,
I didn't
she has a lot of credits on her filmography.
Okay, so Maxine explains what she's doing to Barbie, basically trying to live large, basically make it so that, you know, all these people who owe her something will continue owing her, and blah, 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 blah.
And it's funny because Barbie's kind of like asking, like, when did you have time to set all this up? And she's basically like, what do you think I was doing all week?
Right.
Except we were just down here on bomb day. The whole town was hiding down here. There was none of this going on. The place was pretty empty.
Nope. None of that was happening. So Joe and Nori continue following Angie. Angie says she thinks it was Junior. No one is happy about that. But Joe doesn't yet know the reasons why not to be happy about that, other than the fact that he gets the willies from him, basically. Angie finally explains what Junior did. Joe wants to kill him, but Nori calms him down and says, hey, look, I'm all for beating up Junior or killing him or whatever, but if he's the fourth hand, then, you know, we can't do that.
We kind of need to figure that out first.
Right. Angie has other reasons beyond the 10th grade seizure to think it's Junior and wants to show them something. Julia and Linda go to the bank. They get into
it's very abandoned, trashed. Nobody's dealing with banking anymore.
Right, because, you know, there's no need for money at this point.
Right.
They get into the safety deposit box with a fire extinguisher, and meanwhile, Junior tries to get into the cement factory, dressed in plain clothes, but is denied entry and punched in the face by the person who's basically acting like a bouncer.
This is Duncan.
This
is the only episode he's in, played by... Ooh, I have Barrique Roberts. I have a feeling that might be a typo, though. Maybe his name is Derek. I apologize if I got the name very wrong, either way. He was in one episode of The Blacklist, one episode of The Walking Dead. And it's interesting they gave him a name, because he has all of, like, one line and we never see him again.
Right.
Then there's so many other characters that don't have names that are in, like, multiple episodes.
Right. So Maxine has Barbie do the whole Fight Club thing. She sets up the fight with Victor Rawlings, which is a person that he previously collected from.
Yeah, so Barbie is the main event. I'm not even sure why.
Basically, I guess in this town, Barbie is well known.
But why? Why is he well known before nobody's ever heard of him?
I mean, he's made a name for himself within the Dome as being this guy who's badass. I mean, Joe says so anyway.
Victor Rawlings is played by Matthew A. Murray. As an actor, he was in one episode of The Walking Dead. But He's a stuntman.
Okay.
He did stunts in episode 13 of this series, so he appears as stunts in the finale. Stunts in the 2024 Salem's Lot.
Okay.
The new one.
Yeah.
And 4 episodes of The Walking Dead.
Okay. So, Jim snoops around while Agatha gets some tea. Agatha ends up getting the drop on him with a shotgun as she has him drop his gun. Oh, okay. As she has him drop his gun. I guess that makes more sense than when I was initially reading that note. But, basically.
She comes out as who she really is.
Yeah, yep, she is Maxine's mother. Wow, big surprise there.
And she says, Maxine didn't learn to be the way she is from her father. Hint, hint, I'm dangerous. You better be worried about me.
Yeah, except not really.
No.
So, Maxine has the fight start, which gets off to a bad start for Barbie. He gets knocked down. Agatha tells Jim that they went to the same high school class. Well, not the same class, but she was in the same class.
They went to high school together.
Yes. Same year, I should say.
But she dropped out, and he's like, the only person I remember dropping out, her name was Claire, and apparently Claire's her real name. She changed it to Agatha. I'm not sure why we need all those details for a character that's only going to last 2 episodes, but whatever, we get this whole backstory. She dropped out because she was pregnant with Maxine, and it was quite a scandal at the school and in the town, and basically she hates the town and wants revenge against everyone because they treated her so poorly.
Yes.
Because she was a teen mother.
So she is the insurance policy that Maxine was talking about. He ends up getting some dirt on Barbie, basically learns about the whole Peter Shumway thing.
He gets hurt because Agatha has no idea he doesn't know. So she drops that very nonchalantly about, Barbie Shumway doctor, and that's something that's something that Jim is probably very happy to learn about. Right.
Jim doesn't think she's capable of murder, and eventually gets the gun out of her hands, and now the tables are turned. Angie takes the kids to the studio, the one that Junior brought Angie to last week.
Pauline's art studio.
To show them the paintings. Junior pops in. Joe ends up attacking him, but Junior has the advantage because he's a bigger, stronger guy at this point. And Junior feels betrayed by Angie, but Angie ends up convincing him to go to the barn, saying the 4 of them are connected. Jim loses his fight on... No, not Jim. Barbie loses his bike on purpose.
He throws the fight. He whispers to Victor. Is that his name?
Victor, I think.
Wow. This is starting to feel like a lot of From names all of a sudden we're throwing out there.
Yep.
He loses the fight to Victor by whispering to him, just hit me as hard as you can. He goes down on purpose.
And Maxine basically says she knew that he was going to do that because the last thing that Barbie wants is for her to win. And so she bet all of her money on the other guy.
Right. He played right into her plans.
Yes. Linda gets into Duke's box and pulls out a sheriff badge that Linda gave him after his heart surgery. And she basically joked with him that this was what they found in the place of a heart. And they find a letter, which Julia ends up reading because Linda can't.
She can't bear to do it herself.
And basically Duke, who had a son that got addicted to drugs, made a deal with Maxine, devil's bargain he calls it, to keep drugs out of Jester's mill. And he implicates Coggins and Jim in this letter.
Right, so this is basically his confession that this whole thing's going on in case, it ever came to that, just like it did.
Yes.
And so they knew Lester was in on it, but this is news to Julia and Linda that Big Jim was part of this whole drug thing.
Right. Julia ends up pulling out Peter's box, Peter Shumway's box, her husband, and discovers something that maybe makes her realize that she needs to talk to Barbie.
Yeah, and it is his life insurance policy. And she's a smart woman. She puts all the pieces together just by seeing this document.
Right.
Which is funny because it's hidden in the safety deposit box. Peter didn't have a really good plan.
No, he did not.
He didn't leave this anywhere where he knew she would even know it exists.
This is not a smart person's plan. This is a desperate person's plan.
And then the whole reason, and we'll get to this when when they reveal exactly what happened, but we've already talked about it before anyways, that he basically got Barbie to kill him, right? That was his plan, was to get killed, because if he commits suicide, it's going to void the insurance policy.
Right.
Yeah, he sent a freaking suicide note to his sister, which they don't think's a suicide note because they don't know he's dead, but that's what it was.
Basically. Yeah.
He wasn't very smart.
No,
that's my point.
I mean, he was in this situation in the first place, so
he's a doctor,
right.
so I guess he's got some brains, but he's not very savvy in anything here.
Nope. Agatha and Jim drive back on their boat. Agatha is now tied up. Agatha goes off on a tangent. She stupidly decides to stand up on the boat while going on a rant, and she ends up falling into the water, which is not a good situation because her hands are tied.
Now, this is very much an accident. Jim didn't push her or anything like that. She accidentally fell. But he makes a decision.
Yeah, at first.
To just kind of leave her for dead.
At first, his instincts are to help her.
Right.
And then he stops himself.
And then he realizes, like, well, this might be good for me.
Right. It's better off if she dies.
Yeah. And we know he's not, like, murder is not a big deal for him.
Right.
So he's already killed a couple people.
Right.
So he basically leaves her for dead. He doesn't actually kill her. He just doesn't save her, and he drives off.
It's effectively the same thing.
Well, except she doesn't die here.
Right.
Spoiler alert.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah,
because she's in the next episode.
Yeah. But after the Fight Club, Maxine, I think actually she in the next episode, she's a corpse. If I remember correctly.
I thought she managed to swim to the shore or something.
No.
We'll see what happens
I'm pretty positive if I remember correctly.
I mean, I know she does die, but she is credited in the next episode. It's been a while.
She could be a body, so it could be they credit her in that episode because she's a dead body.
We'll see.
But yeah, anyway. After the Fight Club, Maxine tries to seduce Barbie, but he ends up turning her down, and she threatens to reveal his secrets, and Barbie still does not bite.
He's like, we're finished here. He's ready to just go tell Julia the truth instead of letting Maxine hold this over him. Good thing, because, she already knows the truth.
Right. So Linda waits for Jim to come home and says they need to chat. She wants to do this at the station all official-like, but Jim says, hey, let's do this in the morning. I think I've earned that. And Linda agrees as long as he comes in the morning, or she will come back with cups. Now, I'm going to say that Linda does very well in this episode. Like I said, she uncovered this entire conspiracy within a matter of 2 episodes. She does a lot of solid police work. And, I think I made comments throughout this when we started doing this that Linda is a bad cop. She hasn't been up until this point. I mean, other than, falling for the whole your shoe is untied thing when the guy is trying to get out of the cell and ends up getting the drop on her. Other than that, she's been pretty solid. After this, she pisses me the hell off.
I don't really remember, so I'll have to keep my eyes out for that.
Yes. But anyway, Barbie comes home, finds Julia, and says he needs to say something. She calls him out on his face, like, hey, are you explaining why your face is all cut up? And he starts to confess about Peter, but she basically has already put the pieces together and tells him essentially that he did it for the insurance money because that's what she discovered. And Barbie apologizes and says, me too. She says, in the future, there are going to be no lies. And Barbie says, are you sure? And she says, maybe. Okay, I'm going to bring you back to Outbreak. Outbreak is the episode in which Julia finds out that Barbie has lied to her about,
about knowing Peter.
Yeah, about knowing Peter and all that jazz. He's still lied to her about him being dead.
Yeah, he killed him!
Right,
and
yes.
I don't think it matters that Peter set it up.
Right. That is exactly
He's dead. Her husband's dead, and it was at Barbie's hand.
Right. So, Julia's reactions in Outbreak makes complete sense. In that episode, she just like, get out, I don't want to see you again. Here, not so much. This reaction is completely underplayed. I mean, Barbie's not a bad guy to me. I understand the circumstances that led to this.
Right. It was an accident as far as he's concerned.
But I'm not sleeping with the guy. It's not my husband that he killed.
Well, okay, let me try and put... I wonder how much time she had between receiving that document, putting it all together, and talking to him to actually, think about all this. Probably not too long.
No. It couldn't have been more than a couple hours.
Okay, so we know she'd already assumed that he left her, their marriage is over, and she's already kind of fallen for Barbie. They're already in a thing, so there's that. But yeah, you should take a beat.
Yes.
Maybe spend at least a night on the couch after finding out that he killed the husband.
Yeah.
And lied about it this whole time.
I think that he does actually not sleep with her.
But she's just like, yeah, in the future, we gotta, no more lies.
Right. She's not going to take a moment to think about whether there actually is going to be a future. I know she says maybe here.
Right.
But still, this is all just...
His reaction's more plausible. He's like, future? We have a future? After we found this out? Are you not just going to murder me?
Right.
She might also have already come to terms with the fact that the dome's forever, and this is all she's got.
Okay.
So if, she cuts him off, she'll be alone, and she doesn't want that.
So in the next episode, I'm pretty sure, if I remember correctly, there is some fallout from this. But then, after the events of this season play out, we don't get back to it at all. It's just completely dropped.
Right.
And that's bullshit. Like, you can't just... This is not normal. This is not how normal people act. You can't just kill a person's husband and then lie about it and then sleep with him and then expect that relationship to continue as is after the relationship is after the lies are uncovered.
Yeah.
That's not plausible. That doesn't make sense. But
maybe
anyway,
she wanted to kill her husband.
Maybe. But that's not the impression that we've gotten up to this point, though, anyway, moving along. So, Nori, Angie, and Joe take Junior into the mini dome. They all touch it. Junior asks if she...
and the caterpillar's in a chrysalis now.
Ooh. And, of course, Joe knows this, and Nori calls him a nerd. And he asks Angie if he really thinks that he is the one who's supposed to be doing this with them. And she says, yep. They all end up touching it. And then there's a light show. Nori says, ooh, it's the pink stars. Joe realizes it's constellation. And Junior is like, oh, but what does it mean? And that is where the episode ends.
Yes.
Okay.
So we've got pink stars projecting from the mini dome, from the egg, all over the barn.
Yes. Yep. And I would expect next week to hear quite a bit of ranting from me about the
And if
episode.
I recall, next week starts where they had... marked all the spots on the walls where the dots were. I guess they stayed even after they moved their hands, because otherwise how would they have drawn?
Right, yeah.
Anyways, let's look at the cast. We also met this week Otto. He works for Maxine. I think he was her driver, or he opened the door for her when she got there, one of those. He's in this episode and next. He's played by Ray Hernandez. He's in one episode of Chicago Fire, one episode of Sleepy Hollow, and one episode of The Detour, which is a Natalie Z series.
Okay.
And then we had 2 one-offs this week as far as credited listings. Fighter number 1 and Fighter number 2. Fighter number 1 is Kevin Hall. He is a stunt person. He did stunts in the Hunger Games movies. Fighter number 2 was Jeremy Connor, who is somebody we've talked about before.
Oh?
He was Hayden in 2 episodes of Teacup.
Oh, okay.
And also was a stunt driver in 3 episodes of that series.
Gotcha.
Also as Hayden, I think, because Hayden's the one that drove that car. The character that brought
all right.
Alice Crumbleberg's character at the end.
Yep.
And he also did stunts on 7 episodes of The Walking Dead.
I'm pretty sure that when we were talking about Hayden, we referenced the fact that he appeared in Under the Dome.
He was in an episode of Under the Dome.
Yeah.
Right. Because we were expecting him to become a character in the next season of Teacup that unfortunately isn't happening.
No.
But I think he would have been somebody they brought in.
Yeah.
Or the character, not necessarily this actor, since he's just a stunt guy.
Right.
Oh, yeah, that's because, remember, they covered him head to toe. We never actually saw the actor.
Yes.
He was in, a mask and gloves. You didn't see 1 inch of his skin. So they could have cast anybody to play that role.
Yeah.
If he'd become a character.
Yeah.
Probably would not have been this guy, unfortunately.
Yeah.
For him.
Yes.
Uncredited listings. We had the Fight Club bouncer, was Jeff Crowfoot. He was in 1 episode of Secrets and Lies, an episode of Sleepy Hollow. This is an interesting one. We had a Rough Patron, only episode, John Delaney.
That name sounds familiar.
According to IMDb, same guy. It very well could be an IMDb oopsie. But according to IMDb, this is the same guy. He's a congressman who campaigned for a Democratic presidential nomination in 2020.
Interesting.
So he has all these self-credits as, congressman person.
Okay.
And this credit as a background actor, rough patron in this one episode of Under the Dome.
He must have been a fan of the book.
Maybe. Or it's just some other guy named John Delaney and it's on the wrong place.
I mean, that's also possible.
That's very possible.
Yep.
We had another rough patron, Keegan Dean Rushing, who was in one episode of Secrets and Lies, one episode of Sleepy Hollow. And already talked about Steve Baldwin. Previously, he was a Chester's Mill resident. Now he's a rough patron as well. And we had, again, Townfolk number 2 in Alex S. Taylor and our trusty Chester's Mill resident, Will Smith. But not that Will Smith.
Yes. Not the famous one.
Not that. He's in every episode this season, and then he disappears.
Oh, that's sad. Well, we'll be saying goodbye to Will Smith pretty soon.
I'm not sure who he is, but apparently
Right.
he appears in every episode.
Yeah.
I don't know. I haven't picked him out who he might be.
All right. Do we have anything else to say before concluding?
That's all I got. I don't have a lot of memories of what happens the rest of this season. So, yeah. I know that we get rid of Maxine and her mother next episode. That's their last episode. And egg stuff.
Yeah. I only vaguely remember what goes on there, but I know that basically Barbie's going to end up on the run. Phil's going to end up pissed at him because he killed Dodie, or he thinks he killed Dodie. And yeah, basically Linda is just completely weak and gives into Jim's every whim.
Well, this sounds like fun.
despite being caught dead to rights in a conspiracy to for drugs, and that's anyway. All right, so we'd like to hear from you. What did you think of this episode? What did you think of this podcast? Stacie, can be reached at?
I can be reached on Twitter, X, Instagram, Threads, and Blue Sky at TV and Coupon Talk.
If you like this video and want to support the channel, there are more ways to do so. You can follow me on Twitter at Core Productions. You can follow me on Blue Sky. There's a bunch of new stuff on my link tree. You should check that out, including some things that you could buy if you want to help support the channel. We do get some commission when you do buy things theoretically through that store. And you can also buy me a copy, join the Corn Productions membership starting at 99 cents a month. And you can like, share, and comment on this video as well as subscribing to the channel. This is Dave and Stacie from Corn Productions signing off.